if we start with the total system, the Earth, then it's fairly clear that the Earth is more or less a steady state, in the sense that it's not increasing in aggregate mass, it's not increasing in surface area. The rate of inflow of solar energy is more or less constant. The rate of outflow of radiant heat energy is more or less constant at the same amount of energy. If that weren't the case, then temperatures would be going up. The import from outer space of materials and the export to outer space of materials are roughly equal. I mean, both negligible and usually involuntary in any case. So the Earth as a whole, in its behavior mode, is a steady state. So as the economy becomes a larger and larger subsystem of the Earth, then more and more it has to conform to the behavior mode of the whole, of which it is an ever larger part. So in the limit, I mean, the economy takes over the whole Earth, well then it's got to be a steady state because that's the way the Earth is. And I think it needs to approximate a steady state long before it hits that limit. So that's I think that's kind of the long run idea of a steady state. Now, the idea, I think there are limits, long before the macroeconomy hits that physical scale limit. Long before that happens, we experience the costs of growth rising faster than the benefits, because we're sacrificing natural services that are more important than the production benefits that we gain. I mean, you would expect this to be a normal consequence of classical economics, the law of diminishing marginal utility. You satisfy your most pressing wants first, so you're going to run out of important things that you need. And the law of increasing marginal cost. You do the easiest thing. You have access to the easiest resources first, so the costs go up there. So, what we need is to be good economists in the sense that we measure costs and benefits and are sensitive enough to recognize the economic limit to growth, to stop when growth becomes uneconomic, and not be so dumb or so insensitive that we have to crash headlong into biophysical limits and really get smashed. As John Stuart Mill said, who was the classical economist who gave the fullest exposition and the most favorable exposition of the idea of a steady state, which they referred to as a stationary state, but it meant basically the same thing. He says it by no means implies any stationary state of human welfare. There'll be as much room for moral and ethical and technical improvement as there was in the growth economy, and much more likelihood of it happening in a way because when you close off physical growth, then the path of progress has to be moral and technological and intellectual and informational. So you've switched the path of progress from just physical more and more stuff to a qualitative improvement of the same amount of stuff. And how far we can go in that direction, who knows? But regardless of how far, I mean, why not? We're going to have to go that direction, so let's do it. And if we're lucky, it won't be all that costly. There'll be a great deal of moral improvement, because I rather expect that it'll go well in that way, because the attempt to satisfy our wants by material growth is a little bit like scratching in the wrong place. You've got a real itch, but you're just clawing somewhere, and it doesn't help. So at least I think this will help us to scratch in the right place if we devote our attention to moral and technical progress.